So we named the car Life After 10, and the reason I gave that name, back in 2000, I became the Lowrider Magazine Truck Champion. I ended up winning that title 4 times in a row, and then kind of took a break. So I have a 1962 Chevy Impala Convertible. I bought the car about a little over 20 years ago, and it actually took 2 cars to get what we got now. The convertible had a lot of rust, had a lot of cancer that had to be repaired, and so at the time we took 2 Impalas and we made the one and what you see now. So the car came with a 283 in it, but time started changing, so when we started to build it, I said, hey, if we're gonna roll with the times and try to be a little bit more advanced at the time that we started, we went with the LS motor. We're still not done with the way we want it to look, but you can't go wrong with an LS. You just get in there, fires right up. I actually drove it from California to Las Vegas, going 85 miles an hour on that 15 freeway, and got 27 miles to the gallon, and on a full tank, still had gas, and got to have some fun out there. The wheels are 13-inch by 7s. They're Zeniths. They're engraved, gold-plated, and with a white wall tire. Got to go with 13s out here in California. Interior was done by David out of Marvel Design out in Las Vegas, Nevada. I kind of had a vision of how I wanted it to go. I wanted it to be a little bit different than most Impalas. So we went with the 2 bucket seats. A lot of guys are starting to do that now. One thing that I do like about it is the center console is a little bit different than what most guys have it. We made it a little bit wider, added some cup holders, and the way that David designed the center console was really well done and got to accommodate that Halo 9, and I think it looks really good. It's got custom paint. Went with a metallic gun gray. We added some pinstriping and some patterns to make it custom. The paint work was done by Chris Harwood out of Arizona, a good friend of mine. And the way it looks now, it obviously, when you're building a car, you kind of have in your mind what you want it to look like, and going through the processes, things change, and you get opinions of friends and family, and some being good, some being bad, but really pleased with the way it came out. In the neighborhood that I lived in, it was just lowriders everywhere. And so, growing up and seeing that, I always, told myself one day I'd get me one. But going with my dad to work, we'd go to the supermarket or the liquor stores, and I'd pick up a Lowrider magazine, and it just started at a really young age of just buying the magazine and kind of looking at what guys had, and then also having your own visions and dreams of what you can do with the car got me started. So my first car that I did have, that my dad got me, was my 85 S10 Blazer. Kind of put some rims on it. I was still in high school. Just added a butterscotch phantom top to it, and I just thought I had something amazing at that time. I was just a young kid. My cousins and friends of mine said, hey, let's go to the Lowrider show. Why don't we enter your Blazer so we can get the extra wristbands and be able to get in? So we all kind of chipped in, and we went to our first car show actually entering a car. At the end of the show, we were like, hey, let's stick around to see who won sweepstakes. The next thing you know, they mentioned the street class, and I had taken a 3rd place. And I was like, wow, man, 3rd place? And I just had added some rims, and obviously the paint job was decent. And that 3rd place just got me motivated, and that's really where it all started. At the time, with Outstanding Car Club and my friend Alfonso, he was just really big into customizing and doing modifications and stuff like that. And so we both talked about what would work, what could be different, and we just started going from there. So I took the 3rd in 99, and then after that, we ended up in 2000, we ended up shaking the championship. It felt great. I had that thing in me that I didn't want to lose it. And so after winning the first championship, we're like, man, we can't lose the title. So a lot of the guys in the club were like, hey, why don't we just keep going? We were going to a lot of shows, and we probably did about, I think, maybe 15, 16 shows at the time. Won majority of all of them. Yeah, so then I ended up winning it for the 2nd time. And so at the time, Lowrider Magazine had a rule where you could only win it 3 times, and then you had to retire. But they also had a little bit of fine print in there where it gave you an out to being able to come back for the 4th time. And so we kind of read the rules and made sure that I was interpreting it correctly, and I completely changed the truck again. And so it had never been done. So at the time, with the club and all the guys in the club said, well, why don't we go for it? Why don't we try to do it? We did all the major changes, showed up, and we went and qualified in San Francisco. It was a car show out there. It was a qualifier, and it was super show time. It was really tough competition that year, and so it was kind of a toss-up if we were going to win it or not, and stuck around for the trophy presentation, and we had found out that we had won the 4th championship. Oh, it was amazing. First off, it was always said that, an S10 Blazer can't win, the truck championship. And so we had already proven that we could. It was just a great feeling to do it, and ended up becoming the first person ever in Lowrider magazine at the time to win 4 championships. Funny thing is, I still, after winning the 4th championship, I end up still going to car shows. I'm still showing my truck. And then I get approached by Lowrider magazine saying, hey, would you be willing to stop showing the truck and come work with us? And I was like, oh man, I couldn't believe it. I grew up as a kid buying the magazine, and now I have a chance to actually be a part of the shows instead of just entering a vehicle to be there. I thought it was the greatest opportunity to ever happen. So I said, yeah, what do I got to do? I ended up joining the move-in staff, and I ended up becoming the head judge for the truck class. So my mom and dad were born in Portugal, ended up coming to the United States on a visa, and then they had me. My dad worked as a dairy farmer, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My first language was Portuguese. Then my second language was Spanish. In the neighborhood that we grew in, it was heavily populated with Hispanics, and those were all my friends. So it was a struggle for me, because by the time I went to kindergarten, I was either speaking Portuguese or Spanish and didn't know very much English, so it was tough. So my dad worked his butt off to provide for us, and it allowed my mom to stay home and raise me. And my parents came over here and didn't have anything, and ended up getting everything that they had by working hard. At a young age, I don't want to say I was like 6, 7 years old, I would just go to work with my dad. I wanted to see what my dad did and how hard it was to do what he did. And my dad would always tell me, you need to stay in school so you don't have to be like me and work so hard. So I'd go to work with him and see what it was all about. That was probably the most time that I got to spend with my dad was with me being at work with him. So I had the opportunity to go to Merced College and end up going for a little over a semester, and then end up getting a call from my mom saying that my dad wasn't doing well, and if there was any way of me being able to come back home. My dad ended up getting kidney cancer, and he started getting early stages of dementia and Alzheimer's. And so at the time, my mom asked me if there was any way if I can come back and help out. And so we did. It was a tough decision because the goal was, to finish college, and, we always talked about it, and now I was having to kind of put that on hold and, go back home. But family was always first. I was always taught that when I was young, and so I did it. There was no questioning or being disappointed about it. I just knew that I would have to put it on hold for now. Been with my wife since high school. We got 3 beautiful kids. I got a daughter that's 23 years old. My son just turned 20, and my youngest is 17. They've been a part of lowriding since day one. When we won, we were going to all these shows and winning all these, championships. They were all there with me. It's just a great feeling to have support from your family. So the quality of the builds now is just gotten completely out of control, to be honest. The craftsmanship that these guys are putting into their vehicles is just beyond my belief. I never thought that it would get to this point this fast. It's just everything down to the interiors, down to the paint, down to murals, down to engraving. It's just gotten to the point where everybody's really focusing in on the craftsmanship of building a car. So when I became the truck judge, I wanted to make sure that I was fair to all the competitors. Going to a lot of these other shows and dealing with a lot of different promoters, There was always some stuff that didn't make sense, and you felt like you got robbed. And so the thing I wanted to be able to give every competitor competing the proper time of their trucks being judged. So I wanted it to always be fair. I wanted to make sure that their trucks got looked, and even communicating with them just to have them point out stuff that maybe I might have not seen, just to make sure that they were getting a fair shot at winning. I think the culture has changed. It's not the same as it was in the 60s, not the same as it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. It's evolving, but not for the worse. It's evolving for the best. And I think it's only going to get bigger and better. I got my two boys that they got their own ideas that I never thought of, maybe flying. And so I just see it growing. So myself and 3 friends of mine had all their daughters in softball, and so I got into coaching softball with my daughter. She was 6 years old, and my wife was taking her to practice. I was always at work, and my wife saw, man, she's really good at playing softball. And I go, oh, that's great, and the coach says he needs some help. Do you think you can come out and help? And I'm like, yeah, I'll come out and help. And it just created a bug. I always feel like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to try to do the best that I can. And so we decided to start our own travel ball organization, and we named it E1 Prospects. The E1 stands for Elevate One. Our motto is blessed to play, because not every day is given, and it can be taken away from you. We wanted to be able to start an organization and have a bunch of teams starting from 10U all the way to the 18U division. And the whole goal was to be able to provide an outlet for these young ladies to be able to pursue and continue their career in education by playing at the next level. We focus on academics, because without academics you can't go to college. And we try to teach them that if we're academically sound, colleges are able to give you a little bit more money for having good grades. I try to teach my girls not to have to depend on a man to be able to take care of them. I want them to be able to be successful. And we always joke around and say, yeah, what happens when I'm 60 or 70 years old and I can't work? I'm gonna call you, because you're gonna be a CEO somewhere and you're gonna give me a job. The whole goal of the organization is to try to give every girl an opportunity to go to college without having mom and dad having to pay for so much of it. And so throughout the years, me personally, my team, I've had 67 girls go off to college. The organization itself, I don't even know where that number's at. It's out of control. I always say a lot of times it's like better than winning the lottery, because there's this feeling that I get when I get a call from a parent or a player that they're so excited behind that phone call that a college coach reached out to them and they've been communicating, and now they're actually making an offer and they want them to come out and do a visit. It is nothing better, because I know that me and my coaching staff and all our coaches, we played a part in that. And so there's just nothing that I can compare it to when you get that, especially when maybe the certain family needed that help, and now it's going to be able to be provided. My name is Frank Silva, and I'm the Director of Operations for E1 Prospects Softball Organization, and I'm a lowrider role model.
You know.